Hi guys, my name is Nick Broughton and I am a Randomfish. Hit that subscribe button and let's all be Randomfishes together, shall we? So, I needed to figure out what I was going to do next. Now, I put up a poll recently on my Twitter account, as well as sending out Facebook and Instagram, about which Star Wars movie that I could rewrite. It has been declared that Phantom Menace is the winner of that. Now, I have already written something on my laptop, and I have basically rewritten the prequel trilogy, but that will be released another time because I want to do that more as a as an audio as a video essay kind of thing, less of an actual me talking to camera thing. Because I want to sort of do voices, or I want to do, you know, Yoda, Obi-Wan, and all that kind of crap. Blah 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 blah. But anyway, what did I want to review this time? Because, you know, last time I spoke to you guys, I reviewed Sydney White. And I thought, you know what, let's go in a different direction. Let's go back to Britishness. Let's go back to something proper. Let's go to a British black comedy. That's right. Today I'm looking at Withnail I. Now, I don't know if I'm technically pronouncing that name right, but it's Withnail I. That's how I've always heard it. That's how I kind of read it. Moving on. Withnail I is a British black comedy made in 1987. Starring Paul McGann, aka the Eighth Doctor, for those of you who are the fans of Doctor Who, and Richard, and let me see if I get this right. That is right, Richard E. Grant. Richard E. Grant, the guy who originally, anyway, if I believe correctly, was going to play a version of the Ninth Doctor in an animated Doctor Who adventure that would be later released on DVD years later. Either that or I've got the actor's name wrong, in which case I do thoroughly apologise, but I think that was right. The story is kind of unique, I guess, in a lot of ways. The story is about two unemployed actors who live in Camden, London. They live in squalor. They're very much they're not doing well for themselves. And as an attempt to rectify the problem, as an attempt to find a way to reinvigorate themselves, they decide to go to the country. More specifically, they decide to go to the Lake District to stay in one of their uncle's houses, cottage. I believe it's the Richard E. Grant character, Withnail. His uncle Monty, who was played by the incomprehensibly amazing actor who played Uncle Vernon in the Harry Potter franchise. Yes, he does have a name, but I'm sorry, I will always see him as Uncle Vernon. I don't care anymore. But the idea was that in these events, they go to the cottage, and the cottage is terrible. They are attempting to just survive in the cabin, aka getting things together so they can eat. So they have wood for a fire. You know, just basic necessities that they kind of need. And along through all of that kind of stuff, it's all very nice, it's all very lovely. And eventually Monty does turn up to see them and to spend time with them, and it technically finds out that Monty wants to sleep with Paul McGann's character. He does technically have a name, but I'm sorry, in the film he's actually credited as And I. The film is called Withnail I. And the fact is that they didn't even want to name his character so much, they just called him And I. I think that's a different level of meta that I don't quite know if... In fact, no, I do know. It's a level of meta that for some people, that is too much meta. For me, it's actually kind of amusing, and it was kind of something that I sat back and just went, yeah, that's a nice touch. Nice, I like that. And that's sort of where it came from for me. But the story is very non-plot driven, I guess, is the best way to describe it. It's basically, the best way to describe it is in the making of documentary. There's a brilliant line, I think it's from Richard E. Grant, who says something along the lines of going, this is a point to all filmmakers and directors and writers, that you don't necessarily have to have a plot to make a film good. And honestly, that's done in so many films. That was done in so many films around the time that this was made. that it's kind of nice and it's kind of refreshing in a bizarre way. There are multiple sort of stories and writers and filmmakers sort of around the time periods that have done things like, this is a film about nothing, this is a show about nothing, to quote Seinfeld. But it's very rarely done, and I don't know, there's very few shows I think of that can be about nothing, except for nearly all reality TV shows. Those are all basically about nothing. But that's a bad kind of nothing. This was a good type of nothing. And yes, there is a difference. Good type of nothing, like in this film, like in, say, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, for example. These films have this thing where they have the potential to do something, they go for it, they get sidetracked, and by the time you get back to the original point, you don't care. And you're happy to just watch these characters. When characters are that engaging to the point where you don't technically need a plot, you just need them to get stuff done, it's a lot easier. And I think it's a lot better as a story. With that being said, however, I do acknowledge that for some people this isn't as good, which leads me into the bad type of nothing, which, like I said, is... yes, all reality TV. I'm sorry, I don't like reality TV. I think it's incredibly jarring. They talk about it being about nothing. When I say it's about nothing, I mean it's about nothing of consequence. Because the characters are so annoying, because they grate on you, because of this, because of that, because of blah 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 blah, all of this stuff that happens, certain characters are amusing to watch, as it were, you know, as I've seen kind of in random clips that I've seen on E4 over the years for that Made in Chelsea show. That makes me laugh because of how seriously, I guess, that some people take this kind of stuff, and it's quite funny to me. But basically, when I say a show is about nothing, it can either be characters that are so engaging that they keep you in there despite the lack of plot, or the ones that's bad, i.e. nothing keeps you engaged. They need a plot to move things around, but the plot is so inconsequential, and the characters are so bland, so forgettable, so annoying, so irritating, I guess is the best way of putting it, that you just do not at any point feel connected to them in any way, shape or form. And that's just the way things are for a lot of people, and for a lot of different points. And that's neither here nor there at this point, but let's focus back on Withnail I. It's a film about nothing, but it has good, strong characters. That's the way to describe it. So, how else to really describe this show, or this film, or these... I mean... Paul McGann is what I've always believed him to be. He's a strong actor with strong abilities. Now, unfortunately for a lot of people, you cannot always tell... You can never tell a doctor apart from the actor. And I say this because of the likes. Tom Baker just about got away with it in Old Doctor Who because of his craziness, and because of other such things, and because of the way he was made up, or the costume he had to wear, or certain other things at other points. You can tell who Tom Baker was if he was just being Tom Baker, i.e. just the normal face with the hair. That's how you can tell Tom Baker is being Tom Baker. And you can automatically sit there and go, I can't get into this because that's Tom Baker. He was the Fourth Doctor. I can't see him as anything else. But he had the foresight, and I think the brilliance almost to be cast in roles that almost immediately made you to be made up to not even resemble yourself, much less resemble a character that people would mostly associate with you with. Paul McGann, the reason why I bring this up is that Paul McGann has a very distinct advantage, I guess, over other actors. Certain other actors will play other roles outside of Doctor Who, and for some actors, of some members of the audience, it's very difficult to disassociate the actor from the character. Paul McGann doesn't have that problem, because honestly, the Eighth Doctor had only one real appearance. He's done a lot of stuff in audio, which is great, and I'm happy that he's done that. I'm also very happy, obviously, about the prelude to the Day of the Doctor stuff with the Eighth Doctor, blah blah blah, becoming John Hurt and everything else. But he hasn't had that much exposure on TV of Doctor Who, of being as much of a part, as massive a part as other people. So being able to disassociate him from the role was a lot easier, at least to me. For those people who are older, obviously you guys who experienced the movie firsthand, or experienced sort of, the Sylvester McCoy era into the movie, you find it a lot harder to connect to. That's fine, because honestly, for a lot of people at a lot of different points, it just wasn't going to hit home as much, and that's fine. That was never, at the end of the day, a bad thing for anyone at that point. So, what is it specifically about Paul McGann's performance that really gets me? Because he seems to play this very nervous actor. He doesn't quite know what he wants. He is kind of the driving force behind it. He's the one who wants to go to the cabin, wants to go to the college to relax. He's the one who wants to take time away to sort of learn how to breathe. He's the one who's always trying to sort of go things like, where are our checks from our various previous jobs? How are we going to pay rent? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? Blah, blah, blah. He's very much the anchor in the situation. And Withnail, in that whole aspect, is genius. He sits around, barely does anything but drink booze, quote played scripts, and talk very much like he's better than everybody else. And honestly, I kind of enjoy seeing characters like that. Not because I happen to think that I'm better above everybody else, but simply put, because I enjoy seeing characters like that, because you can almost guarantee that they're going to have something set upon them that will destroy their worldview, or something to that effect. And Withnail never gets that. He gets a little bit of that at the very, very end of the film when Paul McGann's character leaves to go off to do another job somewhere else, and he stays there. And the final line of the film is Withnail quoting Hamlet, doing the "what piece of work is a man's" speech. Or part of the speech anyway, not the whole thing obviously, because that would take, that wouldn't take forever in a day, but the way he's saying it, it would have felt like it was. He does a small excerpt from the speech, and he stood there holding an umbrella. He's talking to something beyond the fence. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's beyond the other side of a fence or railings or whatever, and he says the lines, and then turns around and he walks away, and that's when the credits start rolling. It's so weird! It's so weird. It's brilliant, don't get me wrong, but it's so weird. And I love this film. I legitimately find myself adoring this film. Not because it's British. It is not because it's British. Because I love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and that is such an American film. Like, it's ridiculous how American that film is. I mean, I know that it's an American writer who originally wrote the book and blah blah blah. It's about an American journalist and blah blah blah. That's fine. But this is in a niche that I myself have a massive connection with. This is not only British, but it's about actors. It's about trying to get away from the problems. It's about dealing with a best friend, or dealing with a good friend who sits around and sort of makes these great sweeping declarations and never actually gets anywhere with them. And I had a friend a bit like that once. He's infinitely gone past that now, he really has, but it's quite amusing to sort of sit back and look at that sort of stuff now and be like, oh my god, I remember this so badly. And it's quite cool. It's cool at least to see that sort of stuff happen. So honestly, all I'm going to say is go watch Withnail I. If you haven't seen it, then I don't quite know why you're watching this video, but go and watch it again at some point in the future, you know, when you're not stuck dealing with other stuff. But honestly, the film, the reason why I wanted to review the film is very interesting. Because it's a niche, like I said. And it's a niche that's not exactly hard. It's not exactly easy to find. It's not hard to lose. And honestly, it kind of throws me. I'm very quickly became aware that for some of us, we're all stuck in a very specific niche in our lives. And we try and escape it, we try and get away from it and everything else, and it doesn't always work. And it's not because of anything bad in any kind of particular way, but you realise very quickly how little, I guess, other people really do care. And it becomes very quickly clear how unique you find yourself in various situations. And honestly, I wanted to say, if there's anyone out there who is struggling with stuff like that, finding films like this, films that fill that specific niche, is difficult, and it kind of unexplainably arrives to you, but it's worth it. It really is. And honestly, that's the best way of putting it. Check out this movie, my friends. Randomfish out.